sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. And Joe King Carter, as it says every week at this time. It's noon, it's Wednesday, it's WMNF 88.5 FM. That can mean one thing and one thing only. You're listening to The Conversation with yours truly, Mario Nunez. And again, my broadcast partner who's here dutifully every week and looking better and better, I might say, every week, Joe King Carter. Hey, Joey.
Thank you, dear.
No, that's no problem.
Thank you.
People that know me, Joe, know one thing about me. I might
only one thing?
A couple things. I might, I don't know how to say this on the radio without violating any FCC rules, but I might BS with you, but I don't talk S. You understand what I'm saying, Joey? You know what I'm saying, Joey?
I think I know what you're saying.
In other words, I'm not blowing smoke, my good man. And I've known you a hot minute now. You're like the big brother that I wish I had when I was growing up. And I got a couple of big brothers.
That touches my heart.
But you would have learned to, play catch a little bit more so than you did. And I might have learned to have drawn stick figures a little bit better, because all things being equal. But Joey, you're looking good, man.
Thank you.
How are you
sir.
feeling, pal?
I feel great. I've been working on it and losing some weight and engaging in the healthy world. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Brother, it's all in your eyes. It's all, and for somebody that sees you each and every week and sometimes more than that, I can tell you your energy is trending in the right direction.
Thank you. Appreciate that
and you're
very
looking
much.
Good. So, Joey, let's reset real quick and remind everybody that this is, again, WMNF 88.5 right here in Tampa, your community radio station, but also you can listen to us from anywhere you happen to be in the world. Adjusting for the time zone changes, of course, WMNF.org. The conversation is live each and every Wednesday at noon. Joey, let's remind everybody and reset a little bit and tell them what we do here at the intersection of community and culture.
Oh, man, I'm so glad you asked me that because it's about time for a little reboot, I think.
Yeah.
Because we have a fund drive coming up soon, folks. As you know, we do not get any money from anyone anymore except for your donations. And so, it's coming again, and that's okay. You're all out there who are listeners, so beautifully generous, and we so love you for that. So, but let's talk a little bit about the conversation because Mario and I, how long have we been doing this now?
Gosh, I'm going to have to check.
A year and a half?
I'm going to check with our programming director, but I think at least a year and a half.
Yeah,
18
I think
months
so.
at least.
And so what we do here, a lot of you folks may know, our public affairs shows are usually topic-driven or issue-driven and incredible shows. I'm so admiring of these people like Midpoint and...
Shelley, who was just on before us, Shelley Reback, and of course Talking Animals.
Yeah.
Duncan Strauss is still there. I can still see him
all
from here.
of that.
He hasn't left the studio yet.
They have to do a lot of research, folks, because they're coming in with a topic that they're addressing. Mario and I are lazier than that.
Much so. Much more so.
And so we like...
We don't even comb our hair in the morning. That's it. Let's put on a hat.
And so what we do here is that's a little different, is we work with the premise at the intersection of culture and community that the human narrative is so special and so important and so connective, and that addresses community, because what is community but a bunch of little narratives all bound together? And so in that process, what we do here that's so much fun is we introduce you to a new person every week. And that person, the best part of this is that person can come in cold and not be addressing zoning issues or wetlands. They are just here talking about themselves, and you get to relate to that, and we think that that's a great recipe for radio.
I love it, and just ring a bell for that. So it's a combination of education and enlightenment and some entertainment. We want you to walk away at the end of the hour with having been introduced to somebody new in the community that heretofore you may not have known about, and then maybe connecting with, as Joey had mentioned, their story and how it might resonate with you. And that's why we have an open phone line, and we'll get to that at the bottom of the hour, and we give that number away if you'd like to call in, join us here on the conversation, if you have a question for our guests. And, of course, they don't just come here off the street without something to say. Most of our guests are enlightened people that have a personal story, but then they also have a professional life. And we like to talk to both of those people in the same person.
And let me also
setup,
say,
huh, Joey? What a setup.
That's great, man. You're
I didn't even, that came right off the dome, Joey. I didn't even rehearse. There's nothing written down here. We're too
You're
lazy
like a
for
pro.
that.
You're like a pro, my friend. Maybe you are a pro.
Thank you.
So let me also take this opportunity to say to you folks, if you'd like, go to our Facebook page. We are more and more in the habit every week of posting images of our guests, so you get to see the after show image and you get to see what that person looked like. But also you'll find posted on our Facebook page a new request that we've made to the community, which is if you have somebody around you in your world that you think would make a great guest on our show, please let us know, because the effort that we do have to make is to find people.
Sure.
And although both of us are guys who have large groups of friends around us,
absolutely,
you can only tap into those so much. And so, and again, this person could be anybody on earth. If you think that person could make a good guess, that they might have something in their life that is fun or interesting or educational to share, let us know.
Joey, wonderful to say that. And let me say, and then we'll get right to our guest who's waiting by to talk to us, and she's smiling. She's lighting up the room. If you'd like to see what it looks like in real time.
Yeah.
Well, we do also a simulcast on Facebook.
Yes.
So you could go to my page, Mario, right? M-A-R-I-O, like Super Mario. Mario, R, middle initial R. Last name is Nunez. N-U-N-E-Z. You can see us right now live on Facebook. So you can see me, you can see King Carter sitting next to me, Joey King, and our guest who will be introduced to you right now. Before I do that, let me just say, Ronnie Elliott, we see you there, my brother. Thank you for watching. And Roger Stefan, we see you there as well. So Thank you guys. Ronnie and Roger, the two R's. Now, who else is out there with an R name? Robert, are you out there? Because I'd like to have the three R's.
Yes.
To start the show off.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, Joey, but it just sounded fun.
The three R's.
Robert, Ronnie, and Roger.
Maybe Racinda. Maybe Racinda.
Yeah, we're trying to get a girl's name, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, okay.
Yeah, Rachel. Maybe Rachel's
I see
listening.
what you're doing there. I see what you do. That's why you're my partner. You think of everything.
That's it.
Hey, Joey, who's sitting next to you right there?
Hey, so I'm so excited because we have with us today Dr. Meredith Clemens, who is a professor at the University of Tampa.
Go Spartans.
In the
College
communications. Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I didn't put my glasses on. Who's in the communications department at UT? Who also has her hands in a bunch of other things, including the women's gender and sexuality organization of the school, and addresses those issues. And I'm sure we're going to touch on all that. But she comes to us as a delightful person through some of our other friends at UT.
See, and this is where that connective tissue comes into play, right?
And so, welcome, Meredith.
Hi, Meredith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Get right in there. You have a small voice.
I do.
Yeah.
Small
There
but
it is.
mighty.
Yeah,
There
lean in there. Lean in there.
Small but mighty.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the mission of this show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
absolutely.
much. So let's begin, as we always do with our guest. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, so not too far away.
A native Floridian.
Yes, about 4 or 5 hours north, and I loved it. It was a good upbringing.
It's an interesting part of the world, isn't it?
Did you participate in the Monticello Watermelon Festival every year?
I have a lot of experiences similar to that. I went to the Rattlesnake Roundup.
There you go.
In Climax, Georgia. I taught my students at the University of Tampa about mud bogs.
Mud bogs.
Mud bogging. Mud
bogging. I pulled up some videos so that they could have a better understanding of what it was. And a lot of time at St. Teresa Beach, St. George. It's just a cool...
St. George that was pretty hard a few years ago.
Was.
Yeah.
It was.
Terrible hurricane.
Yeah, I have a friend who lives out
that
there.
whole panhandle situation, Joey, is a whole different upbringing than the people from West Central Florida and especially South Florida, because it gets downright cold up there.
It gets cold, and I mean, you're about 20 minutes from from Georgia.
Right.
So it's just a different culture completely.
You get those commercials on TV for Coker 45, that new corn seed that they're planting up there in Georgia. I don't even know what I just said, but it's true. It's true. You're closer to Georgia than you are to really Florida.
You are. I know. It's such a wacky place for the capital to be located, but
Do you know why it was put there? I heard the story.
I think it was about
Come on,
two
tell me.
men on horseback.
Yes.
And they met
Yes.
in Tallahassee, but why?
Jacksonville and Pensacola.
Okay.
And they took off from there, and where they met, because it was the pull was between Jacksonville and Pensacola to put the capital. So they decided they would ride in directions towards each other, and where they met, they would put the capital.
So that's a very romantic story.
Isn't it?
But
why
is it
not
true?
But is it-
change-
yeah, we don't know.
why not change it over time? I mean, hey, I'm happy because it brought me a lot.
What would
of
you change it to,
experience.
Meredith?
Well, that's the
Centrally
thing.
located.
I think I would change it to Tampa.
Yes, thank you.
Ah.
But
Centrally
I
located.
love Tallahassee would not be the excellent place it is without it being
True.
the capital. So
True.
I'm happy and
Yeah, so
grateful
there you
for
go.
it.
Yeah, I
But
get
what
it.
a wild story.
Yeah. So you, what kind of family are you growing up in?
I had and still have a sister who's
Mm-hmm.
slightly older than I, named Claire. I named my daughter after her, so Claire and I are very close. And a mom and dad who are still happily married, and they were both and are both PhDs. So that's how I ended up being drawn toward higher
education.
Interesting. And
yeah.
what are their PhDs respectively in?
Well, see, that's interesting. So my mom is a historian and her PhD's in education, and then my dad's is a PhD in nutrition and an MD in women's health. So I grew up in this healthcare system mind frame, and then my sister is a big advocate of different healthcare areas. She's always worked in nonprofit fundraising for healthcare. So we have just a lot of health-driven interests within the family. I didn't even realize that was odd.
Right.
Eating lunch in the cafeteria of the hospital was fun. I enjoyed that. And I didn't realize that, like, the
Didn't everybody
smell-
else do that?
Yeah, the fluorine, just things like that have always been intriguing to me. So studying healthcare makes sense.
Never mind all those white lab coats.
I know, it just didn't. It didn't.
Why is
get
everybody
me.
dressed the same?
Did your sister become an education person? Is she an academic? No.
No, she's way too much fun for that.
She's doing the circus at FSU.
Uh-oh.
No, she went to Georgia, and then she said, yeah, I've had enough fun. I'm done with this school. I had a great time, graduated. And then she just went wild in terms of leaning into healthcare and fundraising.
Oh, wow.
Event planning, fundraising, just no more academia for her.
So that's been much of her life.
Yeah, she's very fun, as I've said, and she's network driven. I'm much more antisocial. You could call it introverted, but I would say I'm just
Claire
not
was
as
definitely the
social.
cheerleader.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean she was the party meister, and I'm more of the introvert. I would say though, the older that Claire gets, the more she needs to recharge her batteries a little, because I think, and I agree with myself.
Takes a lot out of you.
It does. It takes a lot out of you when you're fundraising.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot.
Well, and so she's
energy.
sort of more of an extrovert.
She's definitely an extrovert.
So extroverts are people that need to charge their batteries or they really wear down hard.
Right.
And people who are introverted don't see that. And that would be my take because I'm sort of walked that line myself. And, everybody wants to talk about introverts, but nobody wants to talk about extroverts because we think that extroverts are somehow, they're surviving their good life.
immune to-
And they're also associated with people that do things that we don't particularly, they're like these narcissists and all kinds of other things that happen, performers. But the truth really is, there is no extrovert that survives long without being able to go back and go
Plug
into
in.
their cave and charge.
Right,
And
right. Especially the ones who other people are drawn to.
Right.
Because I think there's extroverts who like to be out and about, and then I think there are others that draw people toward them, and that's very much my sister. People are kind of drawn toward her, and then I think also my husband's like that. He's an extrovert for sure, and he has to recharge a bit too. Again, because he's getting older, and he's just like, this is exhausting. Like,
Well, the aging process does some things to you.
We talked about that this morning, Joey.
Did you?
Yes.
We did, because Joey's already in his 70th decade, and I'm bumping right up against it. And we're talking about Joey had done an art installation that, because as a working artist, that he had forgotten that he had done. And it was a big piece. And he just
I'm now at that place in my life where I've done these things that at the time I thought were pretty grand, and now I look back and
we all
people
forget
say,
what we had
remember
for
when you did
breakfast
this? And I went,
yesterday.
oh, I forgot I did that. But now, wait a minute. Let's back up a little bit. You can describe yourself as extroverted, but you are a professor and a teacher, and you are on stage. So
Right.
how does that work?
Right. Well, that's true. That's a good point. I'm a ham. That's what it comes down to.
A ham.
A performer, a ham for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've very much always liked the stage, to be in front, to profess, I guess.
Very good.
So, Joey, I have a
like
question
that.
for the doctor.
Yeah.
So, and it came to me because when you said that about, I'm a ham, I've always been referred to, and I got that a lot too. And at first I bristled. I didn't like it too much. It's like, what are you, a show off? You're a ham? But then, it started to kind of grow on me a little bit. And I said, okay, you call me what you want. Just don't call me late for supper. But the reality is, where did that saying come from? How did somebody who walked, we know what the limelight represents because back in the early days, the light had a green glow, and so limelight, we get that. We know how that reference comes from. But what about the hams, Joey?
I'll have to
Did
do
somebody
research.
hang
us
some
about the
hams up on stage?
If
and they were
anybody
on
knows, call in.
Give us the word.
813-239-9663. Google that. Let us know. Where did that whole ham
It wouldn't
thing
surprise
come
me
from?
that it's Shakespearean. It wouldn't surprise me
where I'm
that,
going with
that
this.
Bill
That's where I'm going
Shakespeare
with
had
this.
something to do
Yeah.
with it.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now you're going through school. What kind of
Student.
kid were you growing up?
For Coach.
I mean,
This
in
introvert.
Tallahassee?
This introvert that likes to be up front.
I just don't, I don't know if anyone would call me an introvert. So you tapped into that because a lot of people would. I was always in front of people running
Right.
around. When you take those personality tests, though,
Yes.
you do realize who you are if you haven't already. And you think, okay, yeah, I am introverted. But no, I just loved being in front of people, run around, student body president, leading pep rallies. And that's about as extroverted as
But
you
not a
can get.
cheerleader? Or yes, a
No.
cheerleader?
Not a cheerleader. No, instead
You were part of the pep squad.
I was kind of a pep squad.
She wanted to profess. She wanted
Get it,
to
Joey.
profess.
Get it. Go on, Joey.
Cheerleaders aren't
To
professing.
profess. Yes.
Yeah. There you go. So
That's right.
So now you're going through school. How much difference is there between you and Claire, your sister?
I think about 7 or 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
older.
so she's already out of
She's
the
older.
system while you're going
She's
through
in,
it.
Yeah,
and
she's
she's
in
at
high school.
Georgia.
Right.
And I was in Tallahassee, obviously, under my parents' roof. And so, yeah, we're kind of like two only children,
Right.
which is interesting.
Yes.
And I think that also would foster closeness or two distant
Separate, right.
lives. I
Correct.
don't think there'd be a big middle ground.
Right.
And in our case, we're fortunate that it kept us close because I think that Claire.
Credit to Claire, right? Because she could
Credit
have
to Claire,
moved on.
100%. I think
Claire,
that
we're
she
talking
just-
about you.
Hey,
Let's bring one for
Yeah,
Claire.
right.
I think
So-
she just treated me like a little baby doll, and included me in things.
And did you look up to her in that way? Like,
Of
she was your,
course.
you was, of
yes,
course.
I still do. Those dynamics won't change.
Yeah, I had a brother that's 7 years older than myself, so I get that completely. He was
Right.
my sports hero when, he was in high school and I was in grade school. He was the quarterback of the high school. You know what I mean? It was like that
Yes,
kind of thing.
You see the world through their eyes, and so she's a product of the '90s where the music was really good back then. So she'd have like Nirvana blasting, all that.
Beastie Boys had to fight
Beastie
for your
Boys,
right
my
to party.
gosh, yeah, Green Day was what I was in. So I had all these interesting, culturally relevant exposures to music that I don't think most of my peers had.
Right,
And it
right.
helped. It helped me expand my mind.
You're a little bit
frame.
older in some ways than your peers because your exposure to certain things. I had the same thing.
And it's wild too because you would just sit and listen to music. There was nothing else around you. So you would just sit at a boombox and play a CD, and that was it. Your imagination would go wild, and
We had the same
I
thing.
have
They were
nostalgia for
album
that.
called albums.
Or
but that's-
45s.
right,
Or
exactly.
45s.
Yeah.
So you're this, I presume because of all these things you're doing, you're a very popular kid because you're on stage.
Sure.
Come on.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
She's
all
she
over the
wants
year. She was on the yearbook
She
staff,
wants
so
to
you know that
she wants
picture
to-
was
she
all over the
smiles.
yearbook.
Yeah, she wants to give it up. So okay, so you're a popular kid, and now you're getting ready to graduate. And how do we start to see our academic future?
I know, Joe. That's interesting, though, because that is actually, if there was some teenager listening, I'd say, I mean, how do you get from point A to B? Where do you go with that? I don't really know. I just know that I wanted to leave the state. I don't know why. And then off I went to Mercer University for a scholarship. And I thought, all right, here we go. And it was really.
And for our audience, where is Mercer?
Mercer is in Macon, Georgia.
Macon, Georgia.
She didn't go too far.
I loved
didn't go
it.
too
Not
far.
too far. Not too
No,
far.
not too
'cause
far.
I'm a homebody. So I thought, okay, here I go. And I wanted to be by myself. I wanted to be somewhere where I didn't know anyone, which is I don't know if I'd suggest that. It worked out for me. I'm still friends with those girls, still. So, I mean, it's incredible. But I don't know if that certainly is making things harder on yourself to be an outsider. But we all got along at this small university. However, I enjoyed it so much that I transferred. So the women there, I'm still friends with, but the academics just didn't vibe. I thought, what are we doing here? This school's so small. I feel like I'm still at Leon High School. I just was like hungering. I think it was from growing up in Tallahassee and seeing that mega FSU experience.
Right.
And I
Looming
wanted
shadow.
that. Well, I was, and I didn't realize that was something that I yearned for because it was ingrained in our it was ingrained in our social life as kids. So then I transferred to Alabama. So that's a big change.
Okay. Which
And
school?
The University of Alabama.
Oh, the
Roll
University of
Tide, baby.
Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Okay.
the one. Yeah.
The University of Alabama.
And then somehow, I really can't remember. Somehow I ended up studying communication classes. That was it. I never looked back. I was sitting in these classrooms, and it was the only time that I had really read textbooks, really read them, cover to cover, showed up, participated, and was still very immature, floundering around. But I like fell in love with the concept of being these professors I saw. I mean, I saw these folks, 4 or 5 of them, just change my life. And I thought, this is what you do every day. You just get to read
change people's lives?
Yeah, you
theories
do.
and teach people and write your name as in this book. And
By the way, I like the
That's
idea that you're
cool.
describing that this is the first time you really read textbooks from cover to cover, because I can relate to this. When you were in high school, you were just too popular to read. You were just too popular.
I mean, you're really tooting my horn here.
Toot, toot.
No, but listen, I get
nobody
it.
had time to sit down and read the book. You just go to the index and use
I
the
do
index.
agree, though. I agree.
I had a 4.0 in my grade average, and there were classes where I never cracked the book.
Yeah, it's a
because
shame.
It is a shame, really, because if I'd only applied myself, but I mean, I was just kind of skirting through, and I could get by on it because I
Right.
was a smarter kid at the time. So,
Yeah.
not that I am today necessarily, but I get what you're talking
I
about.
get what you're saying too, because I think there's this culture of cool.
Yes.
I don't know if it still exists because I'm not around high schoolers or middle schoolers these days. But I think that I know that in the 2000s, right around, I guess if you could think of like the students right before 9/11 and right after, that was where I was in high school.
Right.
It was so cool to not try. So this culture of cool was really
Yeah,
toxic.
yeah.
I didn't even, I just walked into class. I don't even have a pencil. And it's just so, it's so sad. And I don't know what parents could do to fight that. I don't know what teachers could do to fight that. They don't get paid enough to
I
fight
so
that.
It was
get
a
it.
trend. It was
It
a
was
trend.
a trend.
Yeah.
And it
it's kind of
was
like,
just
I got
awful.
this. I've got this. I got this.
I've got this.
I
I
got
have
this.
no questions.
I'm not. You guys can go sweat. I'm not going to sweat.
Probably how some parents felt in the early 70s when all of a sudden men in particular, women is certainly as well, lost their razor blades and all of a sudden forgot to go to the barber for 6 months.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden, when did people with long hair? Well, that's what we're doing.
there
So
it
what
is.
we're doing.
But
Okay.
see, you know what's interesting about that, though, is one of my favorite professors at USF, he's now retired, his name's Arthur Bachner, and he writes in one of his pieces about, he's a narrative scholar, y'all would love him, and part of one narrative that he writes is he said, I grew my hair out long, I grew a beard, but what you're saying, Mario, and then he said, now that I'm older, now that I'm in my 40s, 50s, I'm 60s, I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I think I grew that beard for him. rather than me, because I was really just doing it because I knew he didn't like it. And then he's saying, so who am I? This is what your adult years are spent, is to think of who was that beard for? What is authenticity? So when you look back to those high school days, it's cool that you brought that up, because it's like, what were you really trying to do? Who were you? What were you trying to accomplish?
Hey, let me tell you, in my high school, we had secret meetings with the SDS, Students for Democratic Society, which was, people in my community thought I was becoming a communist. And I helped abolish our hair and dress code because I specifically, let me tell you, I was like anti-establishment all the way. And so because the biggest thing in my life would be to be a hippie. I mean, a hippie is like the coolest thing you could ever be.
100%.
So absolutely, as soon as they dropped the hair and dress code, by the time I graduated, I looked like I was in the Allman Brothers,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, so I get what you're saying. I get it. But now I look back and I realize, why don't I look like that now? Well, because I thought I was pushing back against what was expected of me. Right. See, I'm not really, once you expect something of me, that's the quickest way to turn me off.
Right.
Don't expect me to do anything.
And for those of you that are just joining us, that's Joe King Carter, who's Listen, let me just tell you something. I got Joe a team T-shirt here the first week we did this show, and everybody in the production team wears it, but one person, and that would be Joey.
Yeah.
Joey ain't wearing it.
Don't expect it.
No.
So okay, so now you
do a station ID.
Yeah,
Joey.
let's do a station ID.
All right, we're at the bottom of the hour. When we come back from this station ID, we'll go ahead and give you the phone number in case you'd like to join us, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into Dr. Clement's story.
Hi, I'm Diane Hart-Lohman, and you're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 right here in Tampa, Florida.
Miss D.
That was a great show last week, Joey.
I love this woman, Miss D.
And an hour just wasn't enough, really and truthfully. That could be another title for this show at another time.
An hour is not enough.
We can call this The Conversation with Mario and Joe, where an hour just ain't enough, y'all.
If Randy Zimmerman's listening, we could do 2 hours.
Be careful, Joey. Be careful what you ask for. Should I give him the number now?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Let me give you the number, y'all. I know it's the same number each and every week. It's 813-239-9663. You can send us a text if you're too shy to call. It's 813. Too shy? Who was that? That was Boy George back in the late 80s, the early 80s. Great song. 813-433-0885. Emails are always accepted. DJ@WMNF.org. You are joining us. We are talking today with Meredith Clements, University of Tampa professor, and just a bundle of energy. And she needs to be, because she's got a 3 and a 5-year-old at home.
That's
so
right.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
So you are now at Crimson Tide, and you are falling in love with communications.
I was.
As an academic subject.
Yes.
And let's kind of go from there.
Let's move it on. So I loved it. I didn't realize what I wanted to study. And then all these mentors, anytime you asked a professor for help, I look back and they just continue to devote time toward talking to me. So dialogue was really rich. And then I just left straight from there, moved home, studied for the GRE in my parents' basement, took it. I mean, that was pretty awful. And then because standardized tests are just gross. And then from the GRE, I went and moved to D.C., where I went to Georgetown for my master's degree. Mm-hmm. And that was wild because so I've gone from the Panhandle to Macon, Georgia, to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and then to D.C.
Wow.
And it was a communication, culture, and technology program. So it's called CCT at Georgetown, and it was eclectic. The whole point of it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Mm-hmm. It was interdisciplinary. Everything was critical thinking. Everything was just left and right brain together, and it was wild. It changed my life completely.
Wow.
I was around people who I'd never been exposed to.
You certainly got out of that deep South bubble.
Yeah. I did.
And it's also getting out of the small frog, big frog in a small pond.
Right.
When you get in a bigger pond, everything changes.
Oh, that's right. I think I was the only person from a state school.
Oh, wow.
I mean, these were right. I mean, so it was geographically strange,
culture
academically strange, and strange in a good way. But people definitely were The only person with a slightly Southern accent. But yeah, they were ready to hit the ground running. I thought, what is this? I used to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
This is wild. Like, oh my gosh.
But isn't that good though? Because now
Yes.
all of a sudden you find yourself having to keep up and having to really
So
put your
good.
best. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
that's where
so
you grow. That's where the
healthy.
growth happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was so healthy. There's nothing wrong with sales, but I know that was my, two paths. I would have gone, because in undergrad I sold advertising for the student newspaper for the Crimson White, and I crushed it. I loved it. So that would have been it. I would have kept going into sales, and that's fine. I'm so glad that I went to Georgetown and did that academic route because, man, I mean, I had a professor who, if you didn't make sense when you were making a point, she would ask you to leave the classroom.
Until you had a better idea what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I would not do now.
Come
Outside
back
the
when you're
hallway.
prepared.
Go
It's
outside the
not
hallway.
appropriate to do now, but it worked. It worked
Sure.
really well.
And could we say, Joy, just for grins or for S&Gs, as they say, that she's still selling? But what is she selling now? She's selling the idea of communication and education, right?
And the
That's
other
exactly
issues.
right.
Yeah.
Right? You're still
That's
kind of
right.
selling.
And
Well,
also,
Daniel Pink says we're all salesmen.
that's
yeah,
right.
if two people
We're
are
all
talking,
salesmen.
if
We're
two
all
people are
salesmen.
talking, somebody's selling and somebody's buying.
That's right.
Yeah. And
Here.
today, if you're selling yourself now, you're called a brand.
Yes.
Which
There you
I,
go.
Yeah.
personally find offensive, but I get it. I get what it's about.
I think it puts a lot of pressure on people, especially younger people
Right.
and older people. So if you have folks who are like, okay, I'm going to retire, but I want to do something else. And if you're like, well, what's your brand? What's your passion? Like, oh my gosh, I've lived this entire life. Now I have to codify it. And that's a lot of pressure. I think also students or young people in their 20s, what's your brand? What are your passions? They don't know.
I just got here.
They don't. Yeah, I just got here. I just left my parents' basement.
Right.
Gee, the way Meredith just said that, what's your brand? It's a throwback to what we might have said in the late 70s when we were at a bar saying, hey, what's your sign?
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Yes.
what's your sign?
So what's your brand?
Yeah, what's your sign? What's your brand?
Too
Okay,
much.
so
Too much pressure.
you're at Georgetown, which, by the way, what a great area that is.
The Hoyas.
Yes.
But
so great.
so you're having all those experiences there, and then what? Because we want to get to before
Yes.
this hour ends.
Yes.
What's
I
important?
promise we'll bring it to the
What's
current.
important
Let's go.
for you today?
Off I go.
You take us there right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
From there, pivoted to Chapel Hill.
Okay.
So picked up a second master's degree in communication. Learned a lot about criticality
North Carolina.
and philosophy theory. So I was at Chapel Hill there. Then came to where we are now in Tampa at the University of South Florida. And I never left Tampa. So I loved
What
my
brought you to
time.
Tampa?
USF.
USF.
Oh, specifically USF.
Yeah, so I had
Okay.
an undergrad, a master's degree, a master's
Go
degree,
Bulls.
and then
And
a
it should be this
PhD.
way, Meredith. It should be this way because a lot of people do it this way. This is Hook'em Horns. This is Texas.
Oh.
You guys can't see it. But doesn't that look like a bull?
Yes, it
You
does.
see, because you got the snoot, right? This is the bull.
We didn't even have the hand gesture when I started at USF.
And do you know what the original name for bonus points?
Sorry,
Meredith?
folks, we're doing hand gestures on the radio.
And you can't see them. From bonus points, what was the original mascot of the University of South Florida?
man.
You ready?
Maybe an egret or something?
No, it was the Brahmins.
Okay.
But the Brahmin is a form of bull, right? It's the big
Right.
white bull with the hump on its back.
Yes. Right.
So they just did away
It's
with
the
because
Quasimodo.
that
nobody
makes
knew what a
sense. It'd be
Brahmin was.
cattle.
Yeah. Oh, that was
Where
because
we
we were a
are,
big cattle
'cause
state,
we're
of course.
cattle.
Of course. And Brahmins were here. So that's why it was. Anyway.
That would have been cooler.
Wow. we went off on a tangent.
I need to get this clear in my head because if I'm having an issue, maybe somebody in the audience is. You just said I'm going to Florida. Of course, you're a native.
Tallahassee, yeah.
But
The program that you wanted was at USF.
Yeah, why did I leave?
from Chapel Hill,
Right.
you could have gone anywhere in America. Why
Anywhere.
did you come here?
I specifically remember the phone call with the director at the time. Her name is Dr. Jane Jorgensen. I picked up the phone and I said, your program in communication studies healthcare. And you have Lori Roscoe, Eric Eisenberg, yourself, Jane. You have all these big thinkers who are really creative, right? So they have this interdisciplinary slant. And then you have these folks who study narratives. So then you have the study of stories, which is what you all do, connected to healthcare. And I thought, there's nowhere else in the nation that's doing this.
Oh, okay.
So that is what drove me. And they said,
Ah,
oh,
okay.
okay, well, come down and meet us. And so I came down, and my mom and I drove down here. I'd never seen Tampa. I'd never been here. I'd never been this far, except for Miami. We just left. We didn't go anywhere near Tampa. We just went to Miami and back because my mom's from Miami. And so I loved it. I loved the culture. I loved the faculty. But I came here for the faculty is the answer.
Okay. All right. So now you're at USF
And off I went. I mean, I studied exactly what they said I would. They did not, their brand, they represented really well. I learned a lot about the patient experience. And obviously, as your listeners know, Moffitt Cancer Center is on USF campus. So my major professor, Lori, said, well, just go over there and sniff around, check it out. And next thing you know, I'm doing research and we're all working in the GYN Cancer Clinic studying hair loss and how women were communicating about their hair loss during cancer and during chemo, obviously. So that was really meaningful. And then off I go to the University of Tampa where I applied, and thank God I got the job. I don't know.
So
I'm very grateful they chose me, and here we are.
You achieved your PhD at USF?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all the way back in 2017.
So when you go into the Hall of Fame, what team colors are you wearing? Because you've been through so many universities that
Right.
do you have one that like resonates with you? I guess it has to be UT because that's where you're working now.
That's right.
You know?
I
mean, you
love
went green and
Tampa.
gold with USF. You went navy blue with the Hoyas up there in Georgetown. Baby blue with Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Right. It's
all the
over,
mascots.
It's all over the place.
It is.
Pick a lane. I can't.
Right? No, there's no way.
So many T-shirts that
It
I
is
own.
a lot
It
of
has
T-shirts.
so
You can
many
make one of those quilts with all those T-shirts. And I suggest you do. So let's bring it up to current, because we got a couple of callers that we'd like to get to. But now let's talk about what your passion is and what you're working on and what you're working with.
Right. Okay. So thank you for asking. My current why I wake up in the morning, obviously, besides talking to you, fine folks, and taking
Thank
care
you
of
for
my
that.
kids and
Thank you.
everything. But what drives me is women's health care and women's health communication. So every woman has 3 M's in their life. They have menstruation, maternity, and menopause. And obviously, not everyone goes through maternity, but that's still the issue of their lifespan. They still have infertility, or they have some kind of, or they choose not to have a child, but that is still that M category.
And it's affecting everything that they do in their lives.
Everything.
Because they're always having to be about reproduction or avoiding reproduction
And the
or
hormonal
whatever.
swings therein.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So I am most passionate about the 2 M's, the 2 last M's. So maternity, which would be
menopause.
fertility and infertility, as well as menopause, which would include perimenopause too. So that would be people like my age in their 40s, and then menopause after. And then if you go backwards, we just finished a study on infertility awareness, and it is shockingly, or maybe it wouldn't be shocking, but it is shockingly sad to see how little Gen Z, the current college age women, know. They've only improved by 3% compared to me, millennials.
Wow.
So that's pretty unfortunate. So we have a whole nother generation of women who do not fully understand fertility and infertility. So we're setting them up for another generation of who might experience involuntary
how do we
childlessness.
bridge that gap, Meredith? How do we?
Yeah.
Is it something that we need to do in high school? Like we had PAD when we were in high school. Problems in American democracy. You taught civics
Right.
in high school. Is this something that could be part of a curriculum when the kids are teenagers?
Yes, it absolutely could. It could also be in like pamphlets when you're at any doctor. It could also be talked about on radio shows and
Podcasting.
TV,
Yeah, like
right?
this.
I mean,
Radio
characters
shows.
within, and that's cool too. The media diversity. If you had a woman going through different areas of like IVF expense, I'm on my 5th round of IVF. That could be written into a character, and because I grew up with characters. The female characters were often tropes of sexual freedom, which was good. That's really healthy. We needed that, but then we just that was not enough, and it was very confusing, especially because we were still a little young to be consuming that type of media. But if you grew up on the Sex and the City characters, that didn't leave a lot of conversation for family planning. It was just like, go out there, do everything you can.
Lena
as
Dunham
fast
and
as you
girls.
can.
fun.
Lena Dunham
Yeah.
and girls.
Have fun, be independent, and we're not going to tell you what that means, but just basically be better than a man, and that do everything you can all at once. Be a good worker, and the system will use you. And that's okay because you're competing. And I am a capitalist. I am very much appreciative of our system. But the system is duping us. It's setting us up to fail. because we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So there's sexual freedom, there's choices, and then there's not knowing your choices.
And let me ask you this, and I don't want to put you in a position because you are a professor at UT to take any kind of stance that politically might not be something you should be doing. I don't know how that works. But the point is, our current political life in our country is now in a place where authoritative, dominant, misogynistic, patriarchy. We can go through the whole thing, but we have made it so incredibly hard for women to receive health care and be educated about health care. It's a conservative cultural movement against it. Am I correct?
I think that
or what would you say to that?
I think the roots run even deeper than that. I think that it's like the tentacles spread out much farther. I think that family planning was framed as passé. And I think that the system decades ago, but I think you're right in terms of what our system now needs people to work longer and harder. We have a big baby boomer generation that's aging out. Who's going to work? And who's going to pay for everybody? So we have to keep women working as longer and harder. But women tap out of work during menopause oftentimes because there's nothing supporting them. So if you're unable to talk about it, the issues, the side effects you're unable to manage, and you're unable to feel supported, then you're going to end up tapping out, retiring, doing less hours, being pushed out perhaps. And that's not good for the workforce. But I think that that's what you meant maybe by the conservative push is like, and you would think that'd be more pro-family too, but you cannot build families with women who do not understand their options. So what are we doing? I think it hurts the left and the right.
Well, I see it being hung upon the tree of anti-abortion politics.
Right.
That's what I see, is that taking the power of the control and power that women should have over their own reproduction, trying to take it away from them, and particularly not teaching it to younger people. Am I wrong in that?
I don't think you're wrong, but I think that is a dangerous sentence because there's a whole sect of women who just becoming pregnant, so the need for abortion wouldn't even come up because they're preventing pregnancy.
Right.
So yes, what you're saying is completely accurate, but what is also true is you have this massive piece of the pie of women who are trying so hard and successfully. So what you're talking about is unsuccessful prevention. A woman became pregnant. I'm talking about women who are successfully preventing pregnancy to the point that they aged out of pregnancy and they did not know it. And now they think they can pay for IVF and get a success rate because they did a good job.
Right.
And the truth is, you have a 20% success rate sometimes depending on your age.
Right.
So it's terrifying.
Right.
And legislation comes into play too when you start to consider family medical leave and things of that ilk, where you give people options if they want to start families or not.
Right.
Let's go to the phones. Caller, you're there. We see you, David, in Tampa. We have a sneaky suspicion who this might be. Thank you so much for your patience. You waited a long time. What say you, David?
Hey, this is Mr. White Pepper. Hey, how are you guys doing?
As if we didn't know that. Hello,
White
David.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Good. Thank you for calling.
I was originally going to ask about Tallahassee, but now after hearing Meredith talk, I was curious what she thinks about the anti-DEI movement, and like how it affects academia, and look at like New College, where you literally have the gender studies library and women's studies books thrown in the garbage because of, DeSantis' failed presidential campaign, which seems to be the main motivation of that conservative takeover. So I'm just curious if she's encountered that at University of Tampa or knows of other situations like that.
Great question.
It is a good question. Okay, so David, I have good news for you. The University of Tampa is so far from that because we're private. But that doesn't mean anything because it does, but we're shielded from most of the politics, but that means also we have our own politics. The level of academic freedom that we have at the University of Tampa is excellent. So we do not have to really shield students from anything. We're still earning tenure too. So you have professors who are awarded tenure so that then they can feel more free to speak about topics like this. For example, if you brought up, I'm going to talk about IVF politics and should women have access to IVF? Isn't that a wild question? Yes would be the answer. But how did we get to the point where that's even asked? Why are we going backwards here? So that could be recorded and that professor could be fired. At the University of Tampa, that's not the case because their agenda has been openness. And I think that's how they're retracting faculty. So I don't want to tell David and everyone else, I don't want to paint it as this like noble quest without political gain. I mean, everything is business. And I think that our university has looked at the field of higher ed and said, how do we attract and retain good professors? And one of them is through academic freedom. Because if you attract good folks there and then say, you really can teach what you want, then you will probably have a good time winning them over and hiring them.
Mm-hmm. How's that, David? How's that?
I like that. Yeah, good answer. And I just, it's interesting with DeSantis and his gang, though. They, a private situation doesn't necessarily stop them from going after like Disney or whatever, So I don't know. I just worry about that kind of situation. It's like a politics of gotcha. Own the liberals.
Own the libs. We've heard that before. David, thanks for calling. We're going to take you off the air and finish our conversation.
David, wait a minute. Hang on. Okay. David, what was your Tallahassee question very quickly?
Oh, yeah. Just, I remember Rob Lurai, the late, great Rob, talking about, why don't we move the capital to Orlando to be accessible to most of the people in Florida. But, they built that big Capitol building, I think it was in the late 70s, and it was almost like such an expensive permanent building to prevent any kind of moving the Capitol, I think. So just curious what your guest thought about that.
Well,
Thank you, David.
think that you're correct, David. And I think that, I'm grateful that it stays where it is. But yes, I do think that was strategic. And Orlando would make sense. That would be a good place for it.
They're not even considering the people from Monroe County, which is Key West. They got to go the distance. And Florida's an incredibly long, skinny, but long state.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you've got to drive that distance, wouldn't it be better to put it in the center of the state so everybody has to equal distance? If you happen to be lucky enough to be from Orlando or that's your district, well, good. You're there.
Right.
But, I just think Tallahassee's a crazy place to have it.
Orlando makes sense.
Orlando or Tampa
Tampa.
or somewhere in between. Build a city out in between that's the capital of the state of Florida and
There
call
you
it whatever
go.
you want to call it.
Yeah.
Call
There it
it
is.
Tallahassee South.
There it is.
So aren't we lucky, Joey? Aren't we lucky that we have such incredible guests like our guest today that are so
Absolutely.
smart? Because we feel like we learn so much each and every week. I just
Absolutely.
want to get her take on Handmaid's Tale. That's all I want to know. I just want to know. Uh-huh. Her head just spun around, y'all. I know you didn't see it. No green stuff came out of her mouth, but her head just spun completely around.
Made still. Okay, so that show is terrifying.
Oh,
I had to
yes.
stop watching it.
I couldn't watch it.
I did watch
Second
it.
season, that's it. And they got 5 seasons out of the deal, but
I tapped out. I tapped
Yeah,
out
of
of the
course.
second season as well, Mario. It was too disturbing.
Very much
It was
so.
too disturbing.
Nightmares.
Holy cow. So, if you want to go extreme, yes, please watch Handmaid's Tale. But really take, as you're saying, the nuances, the warnings, the narrative through lines. And I do think one thing I'd love to highlight through that show is the character of the wife who said, okay, she was the jefe. She was the boss. So there's two characters. There's the husband and wife who are, I don't know, I can't remember why, but she was childless. And the whole society becomes childless, except for some women who are fertile, and then they go after them and basically enslave them. It's really
They become
torturous.
surrogates, yeah.
It's disgusting. So the woman, the wife who gives up power and control to the husband, thinking that then the system will repair itself and they will be a team. And then he again goes into his animalistic instinct of just keeping all the power for himself, and she's left with nothing, and it makes her very angry. So then you see this women against women rather than another restructure of society where they could come together and push the men out, because it'd be two different sections of women, the ones that are the wives and the ones that are the enslaved, and they could go against them. And of course they don't, because that is the
It's in the
story
script.
would be
It's in the
different.
script. Yeah, it's in the script.
That would disrupt the story here. But I mean, it is a good warning to say, like, let's look at control, who has it, question it. And then if you have a political agenda, you don't know once you let it out of the barn to achieve your agenda, hence the wife, you don't know where it's going to go.
Correct.
So
And
how
this is
far are you
common.
willing to go for what you want?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Joey and I are both big fans. I think you'd agree, Joey, that we're both big fans. We've said for a while, we profess it here on this from this platform each and every week, that men have had their time in roles of leadership, and we both feel that it's now time for the fairer sex, if that's an appropriate way to put it. And I don't think that it is, but it's time. It's time for women to step into their roles of leadership, because you guys have a whole different set of values that guide, drive your life.
No, I do think that that's an appropriate fair. What did you say? The
Fairer
fair
sex,
of the
the fairer
sex. No, I
sex.
think that's actually appropriate, because there's a type of ethics called the ethics of care, and it's about, we have an ethical approach, women or anyone, folks who take a more feminine approach,
Nurturing.
more maternal approach to a business, to society, then it actually more democratic. Then we have, it takes time, so the dialogue takes time, but it would be shown to be more of a caretaking society. So then you wouldn't have those extreme power dynamic differences.
Sure. And, men like us, we get to this place where we are so sensitive to the fact that we could step on something when we're talking, because we come from a different perspective.
Right.
And particularly if you're older and a different generation. But I think because the balance, one thing you can say for sure, because the balance is so out of balance, that feminine energy and feminine ideology and feminine thinking, more of it injected into our world in general would be a good thing.
Right.
I don't see how anybody could not agree with that.
Go on, Joey. I'll ring a soft bell for you on that
So,
one.
so let's talk
agree.
about anything that we have not talked about
Yeah,
yet.
we
that
got
you
about
wanna-
5 minutes
Yeah,
to
we got
go.
about 5 minutes. Where would you like to go with this? Is there any other place that? Because we're asking you
And
questions.
before you get into that answer, if it comes to pass, would you come back and finish this conversation? Because this is an excellent.
course.
Yeah.
I believe, Joey, I'm going to say this out loud, and if the powers that be are listening, she would be an amazing, amazing candidate for a show on WMNF at some point in
Uh-oh.
time. Well, I'm going to tell you because just her approach to what she teaches at school and everything she knows about what she's telling us today. Anyway, I digress. Please.
That's nice of you. Thank
The
you.
last time-
please.
the
There you
last
go.
time, the last time we planted that seed, it took root.
Yes, it did. It did.
So
It
be
did.
careful.
So be careful what
Now-
you wish for.
Now,
Root it up.
Roots it up.
I like it.
what?
So please.
What would
like
you like
that.
to talk about?
Well, first off, that is a great idea. We could talk about that for an hour. That's why we need 2 hours, the 2 hour show.
Yes, we do. They're
It's going to be
listening.
more than an hour. So I think, well, we haven't, this is like ironically funny. Once again, we left menopause out. It's
Yes.
like, it's so perfect because menopause is left out of everything.
Well, let's talk about menopause.
Joey,
Just shove it in there.
Joey, nobody's
Once
listening.
again.
I'm going to whisper to you.
The silence.
If we don't have a guest next week, maybe we do.
Okay. So,
Silence
Part two.
topic. Yeah,
So-
part two, menopause.
so what would you like to?
We're sorry.
Yeah,
I like
right.
it. There's a subtext.
Right. But let's talk about menopause.
I mean, please, yeah. I mean, it's so I'm not as on fire. Well, that's a pun right there. 'Cause
That is a pun.
Take my
Yeah.
wife,
That was
please.
actually really funny.
Yeah.
I am not. The involuntary childlessness, like that issue to me is something that we could actually get our hands around and solve through education. The menopause issue sounds like we can't. And so people tend to back away because everyone is so individualized. That is not true. Yes, absolutely. Every woman's side effects are individualized. That doesn't mean I think we need to argue for a dialogue that just exists. Like we just need to start talking about it, using the M word all the time. And it's often framed as a comedic experience
Right.
because it's so awful.
Right.
And I think that maybe
Gallows humor.
Right. And I used to think, we need to like drive it through this serious scientific lens so people understand it. The deeper I get into the subject, I think that humor is a lovely way into an experience that's so life changing.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, now we've use humor as a coping strategy for people to then be more open to
But humor can open a door
Exactly.
that allows you in.
Let me
Yes.
just say
Yeah.
this about that, Joey, and I believe it was Julie Andrews that reminded us. But a spoonful of sugar helps the
That's
medicine
right.
go
Exactly.
down. The medicine
So-
go down.
Medicine of menopause.
So you're saying that menopause is this big thing,
It's huge.
and we back away from it because we don't know how to talk about it.
We don't know how to talk
and
about
we just
it.
say, well, it's going to happen to everybody who's a woman.
Get
so
over it.
there-
Deal with it.
Just
Yeah,
get over it.
deal with it. And now I will say the administration taking the black box label off of hormone replacement therapy was a huge win for women's health, because people were terrified that we were all going to get cancer by taking any kind of hormone replacement therapy or even talking about it. So that was from a study called the WHI study in 2020. And it was, it's completely flawed, and I can get into the actual science of it at another time. However, yes, it's an individualized symptom management issue. And I think that the lived experience of menopause is so broad that, similar to this show, if you just started paying attention to women's individualized stories and then codifying or like codifying the themes that are on the top of the surface, like functioning at work, sexual function, and fatigue. I mean, all of these issues. Well, fatigue is also at work, but also like emotions.
Right.
That would be good.
Joey, let me say we've got about 40 seconds to go.
Got it.
This has been such an amazing and enlightening show, and this is why we
Absolutely.
do this show each and every week. We love what we do. Joey, tell us what's coming up next. Dr. Clemens, thank you so much for being here.
My
Meredith,
pleasure.
this has been amazing. And if we don't have anybody else next week, y'all, lean in because she'll be back.
Well, maybe. Yes.
Quickly,
Depends on
Joe.
her schedule.
Quickly, Joe.
Special thanks to Jessica, of course, our board op OG. She's amazing. Our phone taker back here is Gabriel with her beautiful gray head of hair. And coming up next is Sally sitting in for Sam.
It's
so
the
listen
music.
to It's the Music Wednesday.
This is WMNF.